Thank you all for being here tonight for our agenda work session, June 23rd, 2016. We are attempting to set the agenda for the July 14th regular council meeting. And, we'll go ahead and get started with the roll call, please.
Mayor Lambert,
Here.
Vice Mayor Griffin,
Here.
Councilmember Cagle,
Here.
Councilmember Manning,
Here.
Councilmember Sewell,
Here.
City Manager Miller,
Here.
City Attorney Doyle.
Again, thank you all for being here tonight. The first item that we will look at under old business is going to be item A, discussion of extended stay hotel ordinance. And we have, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, we sent letters, attempted to make contact with really all of the hotel owners in East Ridge to see if we could get some input on the ordinance before we officially take action and potentially adopt the revisions to the ordinance. And we have had several respond. And in fact, we had a meeting a couple of days ago with one of the hotel owners.
Yes, sir.
And so at this point, I would like to invite any of the hotel owners who would like to speak on this issue, if you would come forward to one of the microphones here at the front and state your name and address for the record.
I'll call you back.
Thank you, sir. Yes, and could we get the hotel name as well?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, Manager, Council people, Council folks, appreciate the opportunity to get to come. I am Construction Superintendent and Representative for JDH Development. We're probably the elephant in the room. We're the reason for the ordinance, at least the former property was probably the reason for this ordinance, the old Superior Creek Lodge property. We are my owner,
Could we just get your name? I'm sorry.
Frank Ashley.
Yes.
Like as I said, I am the construction superintendent for the property owners, and I'm the one that's on site every day during this remodel process. The current owner is spending a large sum of money to make this a nice property. I know you've heard that before also, I'm sure. But you know, we've made a lot of structural repairs there. The place was as your fire marshal and your building inspection department and your police know, it was in a deplorable condition. We have made structural repairs a lot more than we originally thought we saw from the surface. Once we got in there and completely gutted the structure, it was far more damage than we first thought. But structural has been repaired. We are going back now with new drywall. The property will be something that both our owners and your community, your folks will be proud to see. We will have all new management in place. There will be 24-hour security from an outside source, not a resident of the property. They will be stationed outside in a separate building. It's being constructed now. You know, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask each of you, at any time at your convenience, to come by and see where we're at during this process. I'd like to walk you through the property, show you progress that's been made, and where you can see that what JDH, John Patel, and his brothers, that are the owners, can actually, you can see where the money's at, where the money's being spent. We'll have a grand opening probably sometime around September. That's sort of a target date for me at this point. I'm thinking in the process. The building will be fully sprinkler protected. We went above and beyond fire and building codes. The building is going to be sprinkler protected. It will have a redundant fire alarm system in there, a monitor system, as well as an on-site system. one were to fail, we have a redundant backup system. Our guests will be much more safer environment than they ever were before. With that being said, if you got a question, I'll try and field it. And if not, I would love to have you come by and visit with me. I get on site before 8 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and I'm out there by 4:35 in the afternoons.
Yes, sir.
Once you get this finished, if you don't answer, you don't have to. Okay. Once you get this finished, what time limit are you gonna have for people, how long they're gonna be able to stay there in the motel rooms?
They will be able to stay no more than 90 days. We were aware of that. My boss was aware of that before before closing to purchase the property. And as we read the ordinance, and I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong, that there is a maximum stay of 180 days per calendar year. I hope I've read that right, but I believe that's.
It is 180 days per year, but I think the.
Not
it's
calendar
technically
year.
calendar.
Okay. 180 out of 352.
Right, and this is the proposed language that we have not yet.
Yeah, we are fully aware of the proposal, and our owner, my boss, the owners, and had communications with both the city staff prior to buying the property, and we're well aware of that.
One more question, then I'll turn it over to the mayor here. Say you have a tenant, and I'm saying you don't have to answer this. If you have a tenant stays in one room for the entire time, what is keep him from switching over, or her, or the family going into another room and signing up again, starting all over? What's going to stop them from doing that?
Our management staff will stop that from happening because they want to comply with the local laws and ordinances, and they'll have that record. I'm not in operations, I'm on the construction side of things, but having sat through meetings with our operations people and heard what has been said from my owner to our management folks on the other side of the table from the construction side of things, they told them, you have to comply.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I guess my only concern is any of these, and like I say, you're not management, so I'm not really asking you a question, I'm just kind of making a statement. Is this going to be basically open to rent rooms to live in for 90 days? I mean, or is it going to be a hotel, motel for people to come in and stay, nightly stays?
It will be, they will offer rooms, nightly stay and by the week. It's brand name, brand flag, it will be under signage, will be Budgetel Inn. And yes, it will be, you will be able to rent a room by the week. There will not be a monthly rental that I'm aware of.
But
They have, this company has 36 properties. Some are extended stays, some are under national flags, or in just regular, as you might, hotel situations. And they're fully aware of, there's a line there between someone renting by the month, by the 3 months, whatever, and versus a week, versus a night.
I mean, I understand construction, people coming in, having to stay, or some type of business where you're coming in, but I'm talking about moving your family in for extended period of time. I mean, that's what we've had, that's basically what we had down there, was we had families, 7 or 8 people staying in a room that wasn't designed for.
Well, basically it was turned into an apartment.
Absolutely, it was, the conditions that we have heard about were awful, and our management folks do not operate their properties that way.
And that end of Ringo Road was cleaned up quite a bit. I mean, you used to see droves of people walking the streets all the time. You don't see that anymore. And I won't say
I
that.
had some of those visit me when I first came up here and started cleaning the property up.
Right, and that, you know, that's not what we want to see. We want to see from city people just walking up down the streets with nothing to do. So, I mean, that's the only thing, I don't have a problem with business, people having to stay or, you know, for, like they're building a Bass Pro and such, they've got to stay somewhere for, you know, 3 or 4 months or something like that. But my thing is moving the family in, that's what we can do.
You know, I having been in the construction business and the code enforcement side of things for my entire working career, I have stayed in properties for a length of time when I built a large project somewhere. And there's a distinct difference between that and being as one gentleman stated to me, he was a 6-year resident there. That's not what this owner's looking to do.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes, sir. I apologize. What's your name again?
Mike Ashley.
Mr. Ashley. Just for clarification purposes, you stated your title and what you all are doing down there. What is your reason for being here tonight? Or are you opposed to the proposed legislation for this new ordinance? Or are you in favor of it? You really haven't said it.
Information gathering and to let city staff, council persons know who I am down there on site each day, and to ask that you visit with us and see what we're doing, because we want to be, we're building you a nice property for guests to stay here. As far as coming in and speaking for or against your ordinance, we're going to comply. It was just, it come up, Mr. Tell asked me, because I'm here every day, he said, can you stay over for a little while and go and see what you learn from it, gather information, pass it back along to him. He could not make it tonight, therefore he asked me to come by, and I thought, well, I'll take the opportunity to introduce myself and let you folks know. Some of you may have gotten some misinformation about maybe the management staff there, or how, what kind of type of property we were shooting for. Okay. Just to let you know that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
And I do know we have others, and of course the purpose again of this meeting is to hear from the hotel owners, to have a dialogue. We don't want the city, this council doesn't want to just enact something and say, here, live with it. And we want to create a situation, an environment in which everyone is successful. You know, the city succeeds, the business owners succeed, but I think we all understand also that there are certain boundaries that we need to have. Exactly what those boundaries are, how exactly they are defined, is a big part of why we're here. And so I know that there have been some concerns expressed over the proposed language. If we have anyone else who would like to speak, certainly you will have opportunity to do so.
Mayor's Council, thanks for letting us be here. My name is Bob Dollinger. I'm the Regional Director of Operations for the Fairfield Inn and Suites on 1453 North Mac Smith Road. And I'll go ahead and tell you, as the language is written, we are opposed to the language. And I'll tell you why from a business standpoint, is there is a piece of business that is out there that is good business to have, that if somebody stays more than 90 days. Just like you mentioned, Bass Pro Shop, they come in and stay with us. Volkswagen, when they were building their plant, they came in and stayed with us, and many of those stayed for longer than 90 days. I understand I lived with it, and our management staff at that hotel, we lived with the problem that was here. So we applaud you for what you're trying to do. The only thing we ask is that you give us an opportunity to really help set the language so that it's beneficial not only for the city of East Ridge, but for every business owner that's trying to have a legitimate hotel, motel business. And really the thing that we struggle with is that 90-day policy, because we have some hotels, even in the greater Chattanooga area, that is an extended stay property. I think the problem is maybe the language. When we say extended stay property in the hotel business, what we're really looking at is something that is designed for someone to come in, construction, training, or relocation. So there may be some families, because there's a family moving up and they've got to find a house, they've got to close on a house. And those are the kind of things that it's hurtful for our business for you to tie our hands by saying we can't have somebody in a hotel for more than 90 days. Now we have read it and we know that bringing in your own, in none of our hotels you're allowed to bring in your own furniture. Thank you, we don't want that. So that's where we are. We don't want to be in jeopardy of our franchise agreements, which can state that if we don't follow the city ordinances and the things are set up by local and state government, that we would be in default, if you will. Then once we get in default with our brand, then we become in default of our bank loans. We've invested millions of dollars in the city of East Ridge. And I applaud you. We have great businesses coming, Bass Pro Shop, and the development that's there, that's what's going to get East Ridge back to the place where it was even prior to me moving back to Chattanooga, was that gateway to Chattanooga. And that's what we really want to do. So our ask tonight is put off the final reading of this until we can sit down with collectively as a group and really get the language correct that's going to be beneficial for all parties. As it's written, we're opposed to the ordinance.
It sounds like there are some parts of the language that are okay.
Absolutely. So it's not, we don't
It's
need
not-
to
it's not
scrap
all of it, right?
We don't need to
It's
scrap
okay.
it and go. I mean, there are some things that, and I would say enforcement of what's already there, if we have some of those things. So those are some of the languages, and without getting into all of that, but we just ask that we can table this thing until we can come up as citizens, as business owners of East Ridge, to kind of make sure that the things that we would want in that language to help our business, because the more we succeed, the more East Ridge succeeds. I looked at our tax dollars of what we paid for our occupancy taxes, and they're quite a lot. And we want to keep those going, because that's what's going to keep East Ridge vibrant, and again, the development that's coming in. So that's mine. If anybody has any questions.
You're fine. You're fine.
I have one, but it's actually for legal. He mentioned his franchise agreements and lodging loan, banking loans. Would this ordinance interfere with them if we passed it as is, or?
Well, I haven't seen the franchise agreements, obviously, but my understanding from representation that any limitation on the days of occupancy would be in violation of the franchise agreements.
Sure, for an example, I can give you, so the 90-day is one of the, is the big teeth in it, if you will. And then there are the penalty phase, if you will. You're on probation for 30 days, I believe is the first one. The second one is you can possibly lose your permits. I forget what the time frame is, but the penalty phase of that. So all of it leads up to a bigger problem, to where we really could be in violation of our franchise agreements. Because if somebody pulls, again, depending on the enforcement piece of it, if the enforcement piece is there to actually do what the ordinance is stating, we would be in violation.
I can understand that in the franchise, but how about in your banking loan?
I pulled up a copy of one of our bank agreements, and one of the things it does say is you could be in default if your franchise agreement is not enacted. So there's a lot of penalty phases, and again, I know there's other developers that probably, it's like a double-edged sword for us, really. Sometimes we don't want more competition, but we know to build East Ridge, to make it the vibrant city that it needs to be, there needs to be good development. And the good development is not going to come if there's language that restricts you in order to be able to do the business that's going to be able to pay those bank loans. So
Let me ask, so there's no misunderstanding. Perhaps I misunderstood from the other day. If the 90-day provision was enacted, not whether you violated it or not, but the 90-day provision was enacted, would that in and of itself violate your loan covenants and your franchise agreements? Because perhaps I misunderstood you, but I thought that in and of itself would do that. But are you telling me now that what would violate that would be if your occupancy license was suspended, which is a totally
We have to be able to take, if a guest wants to come in and stay at our hotel, I know it also says you can't have microwave and refrigerators, all of our hotels have those. So if a guest wants to come in and stay because they're coming in, they go to Marriott.com and they stay longer than that 90 days, yeah, we're in violation of that franchise agreement, based on the city ordinance. You know, it just has unintended consequences that having the investment of millions of dollars into this community, we're not willing to put at risk based on the language. I mean, it's a slippery slope, and it's one of those that, again, we applaud what the city is trying to do, because we're all in favor of what we're trying. I mean, we want a clean place. I don't want people walking up and down the street in front of our hotel. I don't want them coming into my breakfast room and eating my breakfast. I don't want them using my pool, and that's all that's happened. So I don't want you to get me wrong. I'm in favor of what the entire goal is, but I just think we need to come up with some language that's one, that can be enforced, and two, that is not going to have the possibility of putting us at risk of our franchise agreements, then turning that into a possible default. I'm not saying one will lead to the other, but it possibly can, and with the investment, we're not able to take that risk. So again, we're not asking you to completely get rid of it, but we're asking you to, let's go to the table and find out a solution that will be beneficial for all parties. Our ask, again, is to table the final reading until such time.
Yes, let's have Mr. Grant first.
Thanks for being here, and I spoke to Mr. Greg Atkins today. You know, you all know Greg, and he's the executive director of the Hospitality Association. And just for full disclosure, your association has contributed to my state representative campaigns in the past, and I certainly do appreciate that. And as well as some Eastridge hotel owners have contributed to my campaigns in the past, and I certainly appreciate that. And he stated basically the same thing you did. You know, I stay in a hotel 5 months out of the year over in Nashville, and that hotel has a microwave and refrigerator in it as well. And so I agree. You know, we pass legislation every year over in Nashville and here in East Ridge with unintended consequences. So Mr. Atkins said that they were willing to have Mr. Haskell, you know, the Hospitality Association's attorney, get with our city attorney, and the three of them, and Mr. Miller, include him in the conversation as well, and the mayor can too if he wants to, and come up with a compromise that would not have unintended consequences, but would be beneficial to all parties, including the citizens of East Ridge, because we don't want to go backwards and have happened what happened before, but at the same time, we don't want to hinder more 3-star hotels, 4-star hotels with coming into the city of East Ridge. So, you know, I think we should table it tonight in our council meeting that starts here in about 2 or 3 minutes. I think we should. That's just my personal opinion.
Mr. Manning. Yes,
That's
sir.
what I would say to you, Dr. Stim. Same thing Mr. Graves already said. I think we need to table it. Another reason I think we need to table it right now, we got a new city manager, and he needs to sit down and go over the paperwork. We're gonna know what's going on himself, but he's new to the city too, so that'd be fair to him, and I won't be fair to all y'all too, because I've met everyone down through the years, and I think we're all, I feel like we're ready to, we're going to meet, Mayor, I think we need to table it. So we get it all, paperwork, council, all of us get together, sit down and talk to all y'all, and get all this stuff straightened out, then go forward then.
Certainly, we will have opportunity to do that, and I don't want to cut off the discussion. We do have
No,
council
no, I
meeting
didn't mean
scheduled. No, it's fine. I'm just saying, you know, as was mentioned, we do have a regular council meeting that's supposed to start here in just a couple of minutes, but if anyone else would like to speak, I certainly want to provide the
I don't
opportunity.
cut them off, I don't have the right.
Sure.
I got all mine.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Collins.
will rice training on.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Bruce Reed, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the 3H Group Hotels that owns and operates the Fairfield Inn & Suites in East Ridge. First thing I'd like to say is I'm very proud of Mr. Dollinger. He did an absolutely great job of being able to represent our interests as a hotel operator and an owner. The reason why I wanted to also speak is because I bring a little different experience than just being in my current role with 3H Group. I'm a 27-year veteran of Marriott International. I retired last year and then joined the 3H Group. So my perspective also comes with having been on the other side, having been the franchisor, having been the guy that would deflag hotels or to execute people. That's not quite the way. I tell you, it is a cutthroat business, okay? But it is, you know, I was called to enforce default situations. I was called to enforce people that were not living up to their franchise agreements. And the questions are very valid. Can one thing lead to the next? At the end of the day, if as a Marriott hotel, Mr. Marriott's promises to the customers are to have a home away from home, a place they feel safe, a place that they feel is comfortable. And for a Marriott hotel to turn business away, to be able to say, no, you can't stay here, that works completely against the philosophy of hospitality. When I look at, from a Marriott perspective, if I had a hotel that was not living up to Mr. Marriott's expectations, there is no question that they would be violating the intent of the franchise agreement and the letter of the franchise agreement. Violating that franchise agreement, even the letters that are sent to the different franchise owners and hotels from Mr. Marriott, from the franchisor, are copied to our banks, to our lenders. And once that letter gets to a lender, it raises a lot of red flags. Why am I getting a letter from a franchisor? Is my investment or is my loan, is that in jeopardy? So there is a reality there that if you don't take care of your customers, if you don't take care of the business as it's defined, that you are at risk. And I've taken a franchise agreement away from over 100 hotels in my career with Marriott. That's how serious that is. And this is a Marriott hotel here. And it's a Marriott hotel that we're proud of. And I remember when it was built. And we've been in that location for such a long time. And we've done a great job of representing the community. The other thing I wanted to be able to share is when I look at East Ridge, and I look at it in terms of development, when I want to build a hotel, when I want to build an extended stay hotel, one of the things that's going to come right up is extended stay business. You know, there are millions of dollars being spent outside of East Ridge on extended stay business. It is a critical part of the hospitality business. Whether it's 90 days, whether it's 6 months, whether it's 6 years. It's a key component of the hospitality industry. There are brands designed specifically, like Residence Inn, like Town Place Suites, that's what they cater to. That's their profit model, their operating model is based on having a percentage of long-term stay business. When you see it from my perspective, we have families that stay there. We have kids who become comfortable with the staff. You know, I mean, you name the story after story after story about what a great experience it is. So we enhance that. But would we build a hotel in East Ridge if we knew we could not live up to Mr. Marriott's expectations? Or if we could not offer that segment of business, we'd be shooting ourselves. Just wouldn't make sense. So I agree with Bob in the way he so eloquently said it. is that we're not opposed to what you're trying to do. We just think there are so many unintended consequences of saying that there's that limitation that is really going to affect not necessarily, not only our business, but the growth potential and what's going on in Eastern. But thank you for bearing through my comments, but you know, this is a great opportunity to do something really good, solve the problems that we've had in the past, and then make sure everybody wins.
It's kind of,
Go ahead.
okay, I'm sorry.
No, no, no,
And if there's any questions, I mean,
It's kind of, the gentleman said a while ago, anytime I go out of town, there's an antique cars lot. First question I ask, do you have a microwave and a refrigerator? Because I like, you know, putting Coca-Cola and stuff like that in there, and have something to drink. The wife likes candy bars, you want to keep them not melting. And I think you get some of these motels, and you can't do that. And Mark knows that before he stayed, they didn't have that. They could bring Coca-Cola and stuff like that in there. So I can't see no problem with having the refrigerator in there. And also, that's the old name, what they call them, you can hang refrigerator back in the antique days, not antique. So the microwave, I have no problem with that. And I think that's the greatest thing that they ever started doing.
Well,
If you heat up food or what you want to bring, you know, everything. I appreciate that, with all of y'all. Wait a minute.
thank you. No, 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 that's fine. Does anyone else have any comments? Thank you, sir. Appreciate
thank you
it.
very much.
Mr. Mayor, if I might just, the last two gentlemen that spoke, if our city manager did not have your business cards, would you mind passing them along to him? Just so we can stay in touch with you?
We'll help any way we can.
If there is anyone else who would like to speak, again, you're welcome to. I think it seems to me, just from what I'm hearing, that the action that will be taken tonight will be to table this ordinance so that we can further refine what the language is. As we go through that process, I think it's very important for all of you to stay engaged in the discussion, and we want you to do that, and because again, we all want to have a final product that is good for all of us. So, I don't know what exactly the timing will be on having a meeting and furthering the discussions, but certainly we want to do that. But again, if there's anyone else who would like to speak, please do so, and if you wouldn't mind just leaving some kind of contact information for us, we would be very grateful. All right.
And Mayor, if you don't, I know we can't vote on it right now, but what I'd like to see happen, that's just my opinion, make sure all the council members are notified, if they can, be there in the meeting.
And if we can do that, if there are discussions that take place, attorney to attorney, certainly they can do that. But if there's a time where we feel like it would be beneficial to have the council there, we will call a meeting and properly advertise. But we can do that.
We'll make sure our city manager also knows that.
All right. Thank you all again for being here, and we look forward to continuing the discussion. We have 3 additional items, and then we're running into the regular council time. But I would like to ask on item A, is something I've asked to be placed on the work session agenda, and if it's the will of the council, I would like to move it forward. It's a request from Battery M, Mike Battery, 3rd Battalion, 14th Marines, to waive the fee for usage of the pavilion closest to the amphitheater at Camp Jordan
I think we would.
on August 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a family day event. And of course, Mike Battery is the unit for which 4 of their members were killed in the terrorist attack last year. And so I think it would be a wonderful thing if the city will do that. And I would like to move it forward to tonight's regular agenda if we
I
can.
make a motion to do it.
Yes, sir.
And that is without a cost, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Say so.
Yes, we would love to.
I'll make sure I got on there.
All right, and the next 2 items, I want to go ahead and get through this if you all don't mind. We'll- We're already late, why not be a couple minutes additional? Exactly. Item B, a request from Exit One LLC to grant a variance to the current requirements of the landscaping ordinance. I think Fire Marshal Custer has some information on that.
Mayor, council, as our ordinance currently states, if you have a commercial district that adjoins a residential district, it calls for 20-foot of depth for a yard. What they're requesting is to reduce on the north end of the property down to 14, little less than 14 and a half feet, and 10 foot on the south end. It will shrink the yard width, obviously, but the intention is to provide roughly the same number of evergreens and shade trees to provide the screening between the 2 districts.
Will essentially be an extra dense screen.
It will.
What lot we were talking about?
The development property, the retail property that adjoins Wright Street, which Wright Street is partially commercial. The first 6 or 7 lots is commercially zoned, but this area is still zoned residential.
Let's run them over. Hotel.
It does.
So I'm sure we will have more information, more discussion on that next time. Again, this will be on the agenda at our next regular council meeting on July 14th. And then item C will be presentation of the annual budget for fiscal year July 1st, 2016 to June 30, 2017.
Correct. I'll give a brief presentation to the city council that evening, as well as the public, and then we can decide whether we want to have work sessions on the budget. Just want to kind of give you a taste. This does not preclude the fact that we can sit down and go through department by department.
Very well. Do you have anything else? Yes, sir.
Mayor, I had a call from a gentleman in the church who do this every year. The banners up on barbecue, it'll be in September. This morning we can put this on.
The next time? Yeah, I think we can do that.
That's
Okay, can I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
On the other ordinance, we have our go about the servicemen,
Yes.
Marine,
Yes.
do we need to have some banners for other people know for here?
We can certainly coordinate that. I don't know if they're going to ask for that. I think they're going to do most of their, it is a family thing, so most of their advertising or getting the word out is going to be kind of within their range.
But they want to come, last minute, we couldn't get no banners fixed up in that way.
I think Stump will probably coordinate with them since it's in the park. And so if they need anything else, if you will let us know.
Yes, sir.
Or Stump or Ken.
Met with them earlier this week, they're good folks.
All right. Do we have anything else? Okay, we will adjourn this meeting and begin our regular council meeting.